That was too hard.
Yeah.
Okay, that's.
I hope the stream stops buffering. I don't know if it's a problem on my end or not, but it stops every like 2 seconds.
It's got a minor problem, looks like, on my end. Alright, well, see, they're already both using all of their villagers, gathering the ox. This is what I'm talking about. I was a little bit loud. Gotta give someone permission to talk.
Are you bringing Chrissy over?
No, she's
She playing Rocket League?
yeah, looks like it. Dude, commentator.
Yeah, you may have to restart the stream because.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you indeed.
Beautiful.
All right, let me restart the stream. Was it fine earlier?
It was fine earlier.
Okay, I will stop.
What's wrong with the stream?
It's having buffering issues.
Okay, I thought that was just me.
All right.
No.
He's getting loom. What? What is he doing? I gotta adjust my camera so I can see. Every game has things at the top, and that's where my webcam covers it up. Pretty obnoxious. Whatever. What is this? He's got 5, and he went. Oh, it's because he got pop blocked.
Pop blocked?
Yeah. So it means that he had didn't have sufficient houses. I just tried to restart the stream and it wouldn't let me. I just tried one more time. Let me know if it comes back online.
Here we go. It's back.
Awesome. Brian's already built 6 houses because he doesn't need wood for anything else. He's decided that that's all he needs.
What is Brian playing as?
He's playing as the Lithuanians. Lithuanians have particularly good cavalry. And one thing that's interesting is the more relics that you control, the more damage their special unit does. Which is pretty interesting. Byzantines is a mostly defensive civilization. We can check out exactly what they have.
Wait, so what's bad about having 6 houses in the beginning?
So basically, you have a certain amount of resources. Those resources can be used to do one of two things. It can be used to give yourself an advantage, or give the opponent a disadvantage. So basically build military units or build economy. In most situations, you can break it down to that.
Yes.
Right, so basically, like, with the houses, you're not going to be able to use any of the benefits from that so early on.
Exactly, yeah. So
how many villagers can you get from one house?
So you can get 5 population per house. Right now, he has 20 extra.
Nice.
And so that wood could have been put towards a mill or a barracks even. Could be put towards a lot of different things. And effectively, this is just unnecessary fat. It will come in handy later, but right now it just kind of makes you look bad.
Right.
They're also doing a good job of constantly building villagers, which is, it's a pretty big deal, because as the more villagers you build, the more money you get, and that means at a certain point you'll hit critical mass and can win the game. You'll also notice that both of the players took all of their ox to the town center itself, so they don't have to walk as far. One thing they're doing that they shouldn't be doing is getting these straggler trees all by themselves. There's no point. You put them on the trees right next to the lumber camp, and it's far more efficient. You can get those later, but honestly, I just make it so that it puts it in the chop down position, because then you can build a farm on top of it. You'll also, let's check and see where Brian's Fog of War. So you see he scouted around himself first, because it's unlikely that they're going to attack you in the first 2 minutes. That's a villager rush. Actually, no, there's one legit strategy that does that. It's called the Persian douche. And it only works with Persian because their town center has double the HP. So what you do is you destroy your own town center, and and that makes it so you can rebuild it somewhere else. Because normally you can only have one until Castle Age, but you build it right next to theirs, and just garrison your villagers in it. And since it has double the HP, they can't beat it.
No way.
It's counterable as long as you kill it while it's building, but that's one strategy. Ooh, okay. One thing that he did right is put them all underneath the town center. Maybe not all. You usually keep one and then one backup. You only
you don't want to build a mill like right away, or he has a mill.
Building a mill is fine to get the berries, but it's just because you look, they're standing in the town center's boundaries.
Right.
So that means as soon as they reach the food cap, it instantly gives the food into this, and they just keep working. You can't even see the difference. Like, instead of having to walk back and forth.
Do you want to start making farms just when all of your oxen are dead?
Yeah. When all of your oxen are dead, and when you've lured both boars. So what you do with a lure is you hit it twice with a hunter, and then walk back to your town center, so that again you don't have to walk as far when you kill it, and then have like 5 other, at least you want 6, 5 other villagers shooting at it.
How do you get a hunter?
All you do is just right click on it and it will say hunter, just like it's a shepherd now or a lumberjack. But since he's taking all of these at the same time, he's actually losing resources. One thing you'll not many people know is even if there's no one collecting, it decays. So like you'll see it dropped 2 in that time. So whenever you kill something, you're slowly losing food off it. Like this cow has no one collecting off of it, and it's losing like, oh no, it does have somebody collecting off of it. My bad, I didn't see. I thought that was the cow's butt. But so you're losing marginal amounts of food. This is like kind of a nitpick. Technically you can do this, but you're gonna lose like 2 villagers worth of food. Time. Exactly. So usually people will have them off like right about here, this distance, because they'll automatically kill nearby sheep or bison or buffalo or whatever it is you have. So you have everyone there except for the one that they're gathering from, and 1 extra, so they automatically go to it. And when you see that they've gone to the other one, then you can bring 1 more in. One thing that's kind of weird with, I'm not sure what, he's still building more houses even though he has 35 extra pop. This is a huge waste of wood, and means that he's putting more people on wood than is worth it. So he's wasting time. That wood could be going, those villagers could be gathering something he needs more importantly, like food to get to the next stage, or for military units. Also,
who's red and who's blue here?
This is Brian, blue is Brian, and then red is Spencer.
Okay.
Also, 2 barracks is really not sustainable because you can't produce off of 2 at once in this age. I think he's just trying to get rid of extra wood because he's got more, but the solution to that is just take people off the wood line and put them on food, not spend them on things you can't use, because he's not collecting enough food, and he's not collecting gold at all, which you need both of those for men-at-arms, which is the only thing he can build right now.
This feels like the exact same thing as StarCraft.
It's the same strategy. I mean, they're both RTSs. And StarCraft, it's a little different. It's less freeform. It's less freeform because you have established bases of where you can go. The maps are a lot more consistent because it's not randomly generated. Also, there are 4 villagers that are doing nothing. He may have 22 population, but they're not doing anything. See, ooh, perfect boar lure. I mean, he should have garrisoned this one hunter inside this so it doesn't get killed. But, I mean, it's alive, so they work just as well, I guess, when they're low health. But these should be working. Like, there is a button that you will literally be able, here, I'll show you. Like, I can cycle through every single idle worker with the click of a single button. You should never have a villager not working, because again, that's just unneeded fat.
Wait, how do you do that? What button is it?
I have it bound to a mouse button. I think by default, it's like comma? I don't know. It's been a long time since I've used the default bindings. Also,
yeah, I was trying to figure that out when I was doing it, because I knew I had a bunch of idle workers and I just didn't know how to use them.
Yeah, when you're playing in the game, there will be an additional button on the bottom left of your map that will also take you to it, so you can mouse over to it. But it's generally faster to do it the other way. So what Brian's doing right, even though this hurts me physically, everything. He's got 4 dedicated house builders. That's 200 food. That is totally worthless. Like, completely worthless. These barracks also did nothing. He's had to put all of his wood towards that when he should be saving up for buildings in the feudal age. However, he did focus on food with everything else. He didn't take gold. See, Spencer's taken his gold and hasn't lured either of his boars, while Brian lured both, I believe, already.
What do you need gold for first?
The first thing that you need gold for is, so the first thing you spend gold on is loom. You start with 100 gold. Loom costs 50. Feudal age doesn't require any. Militia can require them, so if you're getting it in Dark Age, it's generally because you're going a militia rush. It's called a drush, Dark Age rush. This is stupid. Never do this. Because as you can see, 3 damage, 1 melee armor. 3 damage, 0 melee armor. So even though the workers have 5 less HP, one worker will kill a scout cavalry. You can do it once you reach feudal, because we'll look at Brian's. Now that he's feudal, it does +2 damage when you get to feudal age. But that's really rare. Basically, just never use your scout to actually kill things. You see that he's now going for farms because he's out of any other food sources. He thinks. I mean, he has to have scouted this, right? Yeah, he knows they're there. He's just not luring them. So...
Is it always worth it to get the boars?
Always. You should always get the boars. Because they're...
Oh, you can fish too?
Yeah, they're 340 food each. So there's shorefish. You can even click on it and we'll say shorefish. That you can get. And so, just so you know, from any animals or fish, we'll even watch. They gather food faster. So you'll watch that tick up once about every second. And we'll watch this person. Oh, I guess they nerfed shorefish. Shorefish used to give additional food. The ones outside, I guarantee you, still do give additional food. But when you are getting the wild boar, deer, or even the sheep that you can control, they collect food faster and can hold more. Let's see if they can still hold more. No, they only hold 10, but they can hold like 30 when they're collecting from these. So it's a lot faster if you collect from the animals. Which is why you always wait for farms, because not only is it wood that you can't really afford, but it's also not as efficient as other sources of food. This is something that is really smart. With your early units, you garrison them inside the building. This building technically can't garrison anything, but you can set the rally point to inside the building and they'll just never walk out when they finish.
Why?
This prevents them from being lured, or if you do get attacked. So let's say if Brian attacked right now, because he's got a lot more units. I mean, spearmen are not... I don't think this is a good idea right here. I'll explain why in a second. But if he attacked right now, and Spencer's only got 2 units, if he sent them out, they would just both die. But you can keep them garrisoning in until you have a critical mass that can actually do damage.
Gotcha.
The reason why I was saying that spearmen are not a good idea at this point in the game is because they cost food and wood, which is the most important economic resources. Gold and stone are only for military, upgrades, and defenses. You'll never ever use those for economy-related things, and economy-related things have an increased impact at the start of the game. So for instance, if you spent 100 food on villagers at 2 minutes in, and 100 food on villagers 30 minutes in, over time, those 2 villagers are going to do so much more for you. Their return on investment will be much higher because they've had longer to act.
Right.
So he's spending very economically valuable resources, food and wood, for those early buildings, as well as more workers, on things that aren't really good at combat. If he had scouted out, let's see if he's scouted a lot of his base. If he had scouted out a stable, this would be a good idea because he knows he's going to get scout rushed. And these murder scouts, they're really good against cavalry.
Are you only able to make scouts from a stable?
Yes. You'll be at Castle Age, and Imperial Age, you'll be able to make other things. Some civilizations get camels, everybody gets knights. Unless you're Native American Civ, in which case you don't get a stable at all. Also,
That's weird.
make them work. They're doing nothing. There might as well be food inside of the freaking bank. Yeah, Brian, I don't know what the frick his Sim City is. He's not playing the same game as the rest of us. Like, so this would make more sense if he put like 2 deep wall of houses here and here.
Is that for protection?
Because then he would come down and have to move around, which would give him time to about another 2 or 3
Yeah, I saw
units.
that. I saw that's what Taylor did. I didn't think to use them as protection.
Yeah, because actually these houses have more health than a palisade wall.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And the same amount of building armor. So it's pretty pointless to build palisade walls unless you like need to make a really large wall really fast, because they build much faster. You can do things like send a sneaky villager in and build a palisade wall around their gold at a certain timing, so it prevents them. This has to be before the mining camp goes down. So it prevents them from collecting anything. Also, this mining camp should be 1 square further away because it prevents them from getting to those closer ones. They have to walk around. Nitpicky. Eventually, it'll be efficient once they break down the other ones, and then they'll go to the closer ones. But it's not great.
You think
Brian.
Spencer's at an advantage right now?
I think Brian is. Let's look at the score. Yeah, Brian. So score is generally just like how much resources you've invested. But at this level of play, pretty much he with the biggest army wins. It doesn't matter if there's like a specific counter, because it just like you throw things at people. Like for instance, this archery range, he builds like 4 archers, and if he micros them correctly, he can kill every single spearman without losing a single one. Because they just keep walking. They'll just keep walking. It's called kiting. They'll just keep walking back while they walk forward. Shoot, walk back, shoot, walk back, shoot, walk back. And they'll never really catch them.
Is that difficult to do with a lot of spearmen?
It doesn't really matter. Yeah, it definitely can.
Sounds like Marine stutter stepping.
It's exactly like Marine stutter stepping. Certain units are better at certain words. Also, he shouldn't be getting stone at this stage in the game, but whatever. Let's see how many units he's got built in there. He's got 4, and Brian has 17. So that's still going to be kind of hard, but those men-at-arms will be much more cost-effective. These have 45 HP and do 3 damage, no melee armor. These, when the men-at-arms comes out, I believe they have 55 HP, do 6 damage, and have 1 melee armor. He needs to pull villagers back. I mean, he knows they're here. Yeah.
That's a big oof.
He's not even microing them. They're just running, because villagers will automatically run away when they get attacked. They're just running away. He didn't even order them to retreat. And, ooh, he rang the town bell. Never ring the town bell, because that means every single worker you have stops working. Like, these guys could still be getting food.
That's what I did every time someone went into my base.
Well, that's okay. Now you know. Because has anyone ever told you that before?
No.
Have you ever spent, like, an hour just thinking about the most efficient way to save your workers?
Yes.
You?
No one does. You'd be insane. Like, okay, he did put them back to work. That's good. Like, there's no reason you'd know that.
I can't
Right.
see anything.
Is it still stuttering for you, Preston? Are you having issues?
Yeah.
It is stuttering.
And yeah, Taylor, you did do everything wrong when you played. Sorry, I wasn't reading the
like-
chat. I didn't realize people use that. Oh, and he called the alarm too, but he's not being attacked.
How far?
That's
he's
a
not even falling at
critical
all.
error. That's 15 villagers there. Okay, he did catch it. I was wondering if he can just kill that 1 spearman with these villagers if he really wanted to. Like, this is an unnecessary loss. Or even just that man-at-arms. Oh, it doesn't... Oh, it has 45 HP and 0 armor?
Does he not realize?
He must not. I mean, it obviously notifies you, and you have a mini-map where you see the blue dot running around your farms. But... yeah, he just must not be paying attention. No one really plays these strategy games, or real-time strategy games, very often, so it's not like... Generally, when you're playing, like, every 5 seconds, you just glance at the mini-map. because there's no consequences to spending like a tenth of a second looking at that for any weird colors and weird places. But they're just not used to that. Really? Huh. I'll have to check that. The video stutters, but the audio is fine. Quite unfortunate, actually. Gotta mark it. Also, this is really bad placement of mills. Oh, and one thing Spencer should have done is build all of his farms around his town center. Because if, you know, shiz hit the fan, which it obviously has, considering the spearman's running riot in here, like, he can just garrison them inside the town center and they're perfectly safe. You can't garrison them inside a mill. And to boot, they'll shoot arrows out of the town center when they're in there. Okay, he has a big ol' army. I mean, come on, dude. He could probably go win the game right now. Why is Brian pulling all of his workers? Oh, Brian's going up to Castle Age, and he has so much wood that he just wants stone. While I guess it technically makes sense to do this right now, he should never have this much wood. Like, this was due to a mismanagement of workers earlier in the game. Man, it's really weird that the audio is fine and the vid stutters, because that means that my connection's consistent, but... odd. I'm on a wired connection, so I don't know what it could be. My Wi-Fi's, or my internet's good.
How quick is it?
I get like 80 down and like 10 up, so... It's not amazing, but it's... Oh, he did finally kill him, by the way. Forgot to mention that. Hallelujah. Only lost like 4 extra villagers.
Did he focus him, or how did he do it?
He sent his entire fetching army in.
Is that the game then?
Spencer said he was gonna give up at 8 minutes. So what Spencer's now on a timer. Castle Age is the biggest marker in the game because you can start building more town centers and therefore start building multiple villagers at a time. Your economy just shoots up. I don't know if he's going to do it.
How much does the town center cost?
275 wood, 100 stone, if I recall correctly. Yeah, Brian's got plenty. He's clearly trying to build a castle, but this is now wildly unnecessary. He's got enough for a castle and a town center. He's got enough for a castle and almost 2 town centers and 60 stones.
What is he getting all the stone for?
I assume a castle. He realized that he had more wood than he needed, so he just pulled all of his lumber workers onto stone. But now he's got enough, and he's not doing anything. Also, militia are like the worst unit in the game. If you are not in Dark Ages, do not build militia. Just upgrade them.
He's up.
Okay, so he's building a forward castle. So there are two...
Forward
No,
castle?
sorry. A midward castle. This would be a forward castle. This would be a defensive castle. This covers nothing. It doesn't put pressure on the other person, nor does it defend any of your own holdings. Like, you can just walk right past it. This is a waste of stone. Pure and simple. I mean, he can start building his special units, his unique units, but he's not even going for the relics, which give them a boost. So I don't know if that's his goal. And without that, he might as well just go knights, which don't require a castle. You can still build those if he builds the castle right here, because you usually want to build it next to your gold or lumber lines, because typically you should have at least some of your farms protected by the town center. Also, queuing like this, another waste of food, because it doesn't do anything for like 2 minutes until we're going to get to the next villager. See, he did pull a lot of them off, but he still has 11 on stone. Horribly inefficient. He doesn't need that, because he could build like 5 castles, and Spencer counters that by building 2 trebuchets, which costs like 1/10 of what a castle costs. Okay, he is getting the monastery. Okay, well, he's getting the relics, which is good. He can start building the ladies.
Is that the only point of a monastery?
Pretty much. Like, you can go you can build a lot of monks if they go knights, because knights are a very expensive high damage unit, and converting them is a big swing. So when you convert a unit, it's not the same as killing it, because you gain whatever your opponent lost. So for some high value targets, you can do it. But
Wait, how do you do that?
Convert.
Yeah.
Just take the monk, right click on an enemy unit. It can't convert siege without certain upgrades. So I guess don't try it. But also, this monastery
Does it
shouldn't...
cost anything?
No. They have faith, which is just a number of how many people they can convert. So after one gets converted, they have to rest. And also note that monks are really expensive. They're 100 gold, which is like... So I believe knights are 40 food, 60 gold, which is a very expensive unit. But monks cost a ton of gold. I ain't got no respect. Sorry guys, this is gone for a sec.
Welcome back.
Thank you. So yeah,
I'm gonna need to go get some food soon.
follow your heart, man. It's not like you'll
And your stomach.
lose anything. There's a VOD. But yeah, monks are not great military units. Also, these castles do bonus damage if they're on top of a hill, and take additional damage from archers if they're at the bottom. So he literally just built 2 castles on the low ground next to a hill.
Smart.
Kind of a mistake.
Oh.
It shouldn't make that big of a difference because archers don't generally shoot at castles. They generally will shoot at the units that are killing the siege, that are killing the castles. That's whatever. Spencer is definitely dead. He's got 27 men-at-arms, 16 militia, and 24 spearmen. I mean, they take massive losses, but this still wins. And Brian's almost an Imperial Age with 2 castles. He's just barely getting into Castle Age, and Brian has 100 population, while Spencer has 70. So even though Brian's been really inefficient with some things, he's been more efficient with others, and that's definitely continuing to build units instead of... Because like some people will like move units around, boop, move units around, boop, go build a unit, move some more units, and some people move their units, build, you know, they have a lot higher actions per minute, which is probably what's happening here. Brian just has more actions per minute, even though Spencer's strategy is technically better. I mean,
Spencer was going to turtle. I would imagine he would want to set up some defense and then focus economy.
yeah. Which the Byzantines have really strong defenses. We didn't look at them, but we did look at them. But we didn't talk about it though. So they get additional 40% Imperial Age, which is wild. That means castles go from like, oh man, how much do castles have? From 4,800 to almost like 7,500. That's a huge difference. But he also doesn't have a castle, and he just barely got to Castle Age. He does have enough for a castle, and he's putting it in a much more reasonable place. This will protect both golds. To an extent. I mean, he just put archers there. But I mean, like, it makes more sense than friggin' this. This is near nothing. At least you can defend the buildings, I guess. The mining camps that you'll build. So like, one problem with Spencer's strategy is not only that he's economically behind, because his units are stronger than his, he just has less of them. I think he can probably hold this attack. 47 against 41, and these are better. Yeah, he'll be fine. Oh, he just got long swordsman. He'll be double fine. Ooh, and 2 monks are just gonna die for no reason. That's 200 gold. That's... This castle's not gonna finish beforehand, but I still think this, because pikemen do 4 damage against the 11 damage of them. And Spencer has melee armor upgrades. 2 of them just finished. That's perfect timing. Well, Brian doesn't. Even though Brian did get the long swordsman as well. There's no way he could possibly win this fight. Oh, Spencer's pulling all of his workers to finish this castle. Really dumb, because he only has lost, like, what, 20? And he didn't even commit all of his military units. And slaughtered every single one of his. That alone made Brian's attack worth it, I think. Because he's losing so many resources just from that one weird move. He didn't need that castle to win. But he did use it to lose the work time of probably 40 workers. That's hundreds of resources he just lost.
So when Spencer wins, is he going to play against Taylor?
Yes, if Spencer wins. Okay, Brian has built another town center, which is great. Let's see if he actually produces villagers from it. Because, ooh, ladies. Okay, these will slaughter his men-at-arms. Men-at-arms are not good against cavalry. They're like a all-around unit, and cavalry are a I murder fetching everything unit. Like, cavalry just slaughters everything but pikemen and other cavalry, basically. So it's at this point in the game where even with upgrades, these long swordsmen don't do anything against pretty much anything except trash units. And by trash units, I mean units that cost food and wood. If it costs gold, these will die to it. Archers, they will die to it. Cavalry, they will die to it. Because they do less damage than cavalry and have less health. And have... let's actually check the armor. I don't know about Laetes. Well, if Brian had upgrades, they'd have less armor too. But right now, they're equal footing. And the 4 trebuchets will...
My food is ready right now. I'm going to be like 10 minutes.
That's completely fine, dude.
I just wanted to see what was going to happen. You'll have a VOD though?
Yeah, there will be a VOD. And the VOD won't have any stuttering because my recording hasn't dropped like any frames whatsoever. So it's something with the internet connection.
All right, I'll be back in 10 minutes.
Sounds good. Yeah, if I were Spencer right now, because I have limited resources, I need to devote some money to trash units. I would make a whole bunch of spearmen and then a whole bunch of archers, because those archers kill infantry better than long swordsmen do. And to boot, they can actually kill long swordsmen. They actually counter these. The spearmen would provide a line of defense against the cavalry. Cavalry typically has higher pierce armor. Laetes do not. Laetes are more aggressive and have less armor, so those archers would punish them pretty severely. If I were Brian, I would definitely start mixing in some knights, or I guess since he's Imperial Age, he could go all the way up to paladins, which is this... It goes knight, cavalier, paladin.
Okay.
And those are a little tankier, and they would provide a bit of a buffer to prevent the Laetes from dying. Also, this is way too many trebuchets, because like 3 of them are pretty much as much as I ever get. They'll kill castles really quickly. But when you devote this much money and pop space into this much siege, only to kill castles slightly faster, that means you're reducing the amount of defenses they have. And that's the one weakness of trebuchets, is their defenses. They do plenty of damage on their own. I mean, you watched, Seth, you watched that last game when that singular trebuchet destroyed that castle, and he didn't have time to react, build an army, or anything. So that's definitely a misallocation of resources. They'll accomplish something, but you could be doing something more efficient with those resources. What is he at in terms of Laetes now? I hate that I have to switch to the other perspective in order to check. 24. And Spencer has 46. That'd be kind of close. I think the Laetes would probably still win. Just because, assuming Brian micros them correctly. Yes, I should say. That means taking the damaged ones, putting them in the back, and bringing them back front, so that the men-at-arms switch aggro to the healthy ones. And aggro is just meaning... I think it's short for aggression. I'm going to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure. But it just means what the unit is targeting. This This is a good forward castle. I mean, it was within range. He should have done it just outside of range, especially on the high ground. Especially with the cliff there, he should have definitely put it like right here. Because then it gives you a foothold that makes it really hard to push the units back, and a good platform for the siege to set up. Also, he should not be attacking the building, he should be attacking the workers, which he, I think, has realized. I think the building still goes down even if it finishes, which it's gonna finish, it looks like. Maybe not. Yeah, you got him. This isn't finishing. And so when you destroy a building, or when you cancel the construction of a building, you are refunded a certain amount of resources based on how much you have already done. So if Brian chooses to... Oh! Interesting counter. I mean, those trebuchets obviously are going to kill the castles very quickly. I mean, like, look at this. This castle's not going to accomplish anything. But these men-at-arms I don't think can beat. He's also shouldn't be garrisoning them, I don't think, but whatever. If he's fighting like this, if Brian's coming up to him, he should retreat to within range of the castle, because the castle's going to do a ton of damage. And oh, he's sending all of his units after the trebuchets. They just got slaughtered. If they had just fought the ladies. How many ladies does he have? 34? Yeah, they would have lost anyway, probably. But he should have fought them under tower. Oh. And he finished the castle. Yeah, that's definitely in the game. No way you can come back from that. But yeah, that economy is what made that military able to actually accomplish anything. Because I think Brian wasn't very efficient. Yeah. He wasn't very efficient at all, considering the advantage he had. But he still won just because his economy was so much stronger in every category. Especially gold. That's the most important one in this case. Stone really didn't matter. Wood did matter to an extent. Food did matter. And that 3K, 3K, 2.5K, that's a big deal. Yeah, I just need to, just so that it goes in the VOD, because right now my mic's muted. Okay. Basically, your town center should never, ever, ever be idle. It should always be producing workers or researching upgrades. Okay. Without exception. I mean, I guess there are some very rare ones, but you don't have to worry about them at this point.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Cool. I think that's enough.
Yeah, there are a couple other things. There are a couple of other things that you definitely could have done better. Like, you mismanaged your villagers in 3 specific instances that I could remember. One was when they attacked your tree line. You didn't evacuate them. You just let them die. And that was 12 villagers is...
That was delayed.
600 food.
Oh my.
Yeah, I remember what you did to me once, Ethan. Like, remember how you attacked me with airships and my villagers? So that's why I did with Spencer. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to send a raid. I know I'll lose the units probably, but his villagers are more valuable.
Yeah, that was a huge blow. The second time was you let that spearman run around in your farms forever.
I didn't even notice he was there.
It took me a minute to realize that was there.
Yeah, he killed like 5 villagers. That's
Seriously?
why you normally... Yeah, that's why you normally put the farms next to the town center, so you can garrison the town center. Third thing... Gotcha. Oh, I guess there are 4 things. Third thing you screwed up with villager management. You sounded the town bell when they were being attacked, which means every single unit, even if they're not being attacked, will run.
I thought that tells them to get into the garrisons.
Yes, it does. Except for, what about the ones that were on the farms? They weren't even being attacked. They were in no danger.
True.
So you effectively, if they're sitting inside of the town center, that is the same as them being dead, at least for a minute. So that reduced efficiency. And then the very last one was you pulled every single worker you had to finish building that castle.
Yeah, because it was about to get destroyed.
No, it was not. Number 1.
What?
No, number 1, you killed him with your regular units. He had about the same number, except for they were spearmen mixed in, and you had better upgrades. So you were going to win that fight. Secondly, even if you do lose that fight, your castle can't shoot at units attacking it from melee range without the murder holes upgrade. So even if it completes, they can just wail at it, and the castle can't do anything about it. I mean, granted, you could get other units out. and that would force them to engage your units, which would probably mean that the castle can start shooting at them.
What time do you want the tournament?
But it just wasn't great. What do you mean?
Wait, what about me? What are my mistakes?
Your mistakes. So I know that you had a reason for building those houses, but it was a waste. You mismanaged your workers as well, just not to the extent Spencer did. Like when you put all of your workers on stone so you could get enough stone for a castle quickly.
Ryan notes.
I am giving him notes. That was a mistake to put them all on stone.
Okay, I'm done.
So the thing is, you put villagers to collect resources, discovered you had an extra amount of them, and then moved them to somewhere else. You should be able you should not be able to. It would be good to learn to know how to anticipate your resource needs. So if you're going up from feudal to castle, you're like, okay, I'm gonna start building a lot more gold units that use gold. So I will now, as the upgrade is coming along, I will now put them on gold. Instead of say, oh shoot, I need this thing right now, let's start gathering resources for it. As opposed to gather resources so you have enough when the time comes that you need it.
All right.
That one's definitely like a more high-skilled thing to work on. Like it's a lot better than, just straight up murdering 12 of your villagers, because at least they were doing something. So it's let's see, what else could I bring up? Your two castles, your first two castles weren't in a good position. Because there are two kinds of castles. There's a forward castle and there's a defensive castle. They were like middle castles. They didn't protect anything, and they also didn't put any pressure on Spencer. So Spencer I think Spencer probably would have taken a battle underneath them if you lured him into it. But most really good players are just gonna walk away. They're like, oh, there's two castles here? I don't have to fight you because I'm not actually accomplishing anything by fighting you here. I'm gonna fight in a place where it's advantageous to me. But if you have a defensive castle, then it's like, oh, this is actually protecting a valuable target. It is in my plan to attack, and I've committed all these resources to an attack. But if I don't attack, I'll effectively be wasting some of them. And if I do attack, I'll be taking a lot more damage than I anticipated. So that's the point of defensive castles. And then offensive castles give you a place to set up or put siege down. Yours was a little bit too close, that third castle, but it was the right idea. You generally have to have people defending them, which you did bring up people to defend when you saw that it was under attack. But since it was in vision range...
I actually meant for Spencer to try and attack it, to sacrifice those villagers, because I got cavalry below and it gave me an opening to attack his castle.
You could have had those cavalry set up right behind them and not lost the villagers.
That is true.
That's definitely like a nitpick, because you still won the game. Spencer straight up sacrificed all of his units to the trebuchets. He didn't even attack your cavalry, so your cavalry's cool, and just murdered them. So that was a big mess up on his end.
Even if he attacked my cavalry would have killed them all, because if it was swinging cavalry, they ignore the armor completely. They just focus on the health.
Yep, and you had 2 relics, which gave him 2 bonus damage, which is a big deal.
3 relics, actually.
Oh, you must have gotten a 3rd one after I checked.
Yeah.
But they definitely would have killed them anyways, but I'm just saying that's why they killed so many and didn't lose anything.
Yeah.
So that was really good. More of a misplay on his part than anything else. If you were anticipating it going later, you could have built another town center. I see you did later, but you didn't build any villagers out of it. Or if you did,
I actually did. I did build villagers out of it.
If you did, it was very few, which is fine because you were committing to an attack right then, and you were devoting resources to that. If you were anticipating a longer game, then you could have devoted more resources to that. Usually the number, if you're going really economic focused, is 3 town centers. But I don't think that was wrong, because you knew he was weak and devoted resources to that. It's just something to consider. Sometimes if you can spare a little bit, you can do that at the same time I don't know if you had enough villagers to necessarily support building that many units as well, as building up your economy. But I think for the most part, you did well. Like, now it's, instead of like removing those game losing decisions, it's now start making more game winning decisions. Like, Spencer definitely made a whole lot of game losing decisions. Decisions that were because of inexperience. He's not like dumb or anything. He just hasn't played the game enough. Because he made that decision, he lost the game. And you didn't make any of those decisions. You didn't make any decision that lost you the game. Even if some of them were not necessarily the most efficient, they were not game losing. So you got to that point where you can start making those strides towards game winning little decisions as opposed to getting those big game losing decisions.
Thanks, man. I'll keep this under lock and key.
Yeah, no problem. If you beat me, I'll cry. Because I facilitated my own death.